Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is the player ratings. Liverpool 2, Everton 0 at Anfield. Another Merseyside derby defeat for Everton, one in which, let's be perfectly honest, was scripted and set up by the Premier League, the FA, Sky Sports, and anybody else that had any involvement in the game. I think it was a much better performance than any of us would have expected from Everton. I think the game plan from Frank Lampard for an hour was absolutely perfect. And anybody that wants to come in, be it a Liverpool fan or anybody else, and tell me that having 17% football is the worst thing in the world and how is that perfect, simply does not understand football. There was no way Everton could have gone toe-to-toe with that Liverpool team today, because we'd have been absolutely embarrassed, because they are a much better team than we are. So the game plan to allow them to have all of the possession and for us to sit back, frustrate them, not allow them to get through, limit them to very few chances and rash chances at that, was absolutely perfect for me. I don't care whether we had 10% possession, whether we had 3% possession, whether we had no possession. The game plan for me in that first hour was spot on by Frank Lampard. Obviously, it meant nothing when we conceded the first goal. I think the players sort of, dropped their confidence a little bit, and therefore their edge dropped, and the game plan sort of went a little bit astray. But also Liverpool's confidence, was gained, and their heads all of a sudden got up and they switched it up a gear, and that was always going to be difficult for Everton to deal with. But we did deal with it. We nullified it again. We got back at them. We created a few opportunities, and then they went and obviously killed the game off towards the end. But ultimately, we didn't have enough quality. We didn't have enough cutting edge in the final third. Chances for Alex Iwobi, Richarlison, weren't taken. Abdoulaye Doucouré weren't taken. Anthony Gordon had one as well. In which maybe, we'd have had a little bit more quality, we would have taken them and it had been a different day. We lapsed in concentration defensively towards the end of the game. It's very, very difficult to employ the tactic we were employing for 90 plus minutes and be that concentrated and be that switched on against a team like Liverpool, who are a very, very good team. And, we've lost it through blatant bias and blatant corruption and blatant scripted events by, the Premier League and, ultimately the FA as well. For anybody talking about possession, by the way, I'm sure Jose Mourinho won the Champions League having about 3% possession, and various teams have won trophies having very little possession. So possession, if you're winning games of football, means nothing. Obviously, we didn't win this game, but for that hour, I don't think anybody was really asked about possession. We were asked about the fact that we were still in the game and we were frustrating Liverpool. And as I said, the refereeing decisions for me are just are baffling. It's got to the point now where they're not even questionable decisions. They're not even decisions that you look at and you go, that should have been a penalty. They can't be argued. If there's any Liverpool fan that wants to sit here now and tell me that A, Sadio Mane shouldn't have been sent off, and B, we shouldn't have had the blatant penalty. And do you know what? You can stick Richarlison in there. If you want your Richarlison sending off at the end, then sound, whatever. But there cannot be one football fan who has watched that game today and has got the brass bollocks to sit there and tell me that that's not a sending off for Sadio Mane for raising his arm to 3 different Everton players, 2 of them which were caught on camera, but he did it to 3. And it's not a blatant penalty on Anthony Gordon. If you don't think those 2 things were as blatant as they come, then you don't understand football, and you're from this new football era of fans that only believe what the football game, what the video game FIFA tells you, or what Mark Goldbridge says on his YouTube channel. If you don't think that's a blatant penalty and that's a blatant red card, you don't understand football. I think the PMGOL or whatever they are, the Premier League referee and committee of knobheads, have come out and apologised again, exactly like Mike Riley did after the Rodri incident at Goodison Park a couple of months ago. Oh, we're sorry, that should have been a penalty. I think they've come out against it, now, with less than an hour after the game has finished, and said, oh yeah, we're sorry, that should have been a penalty against Anthony Gordon, which is baffling really, because if the referee has made such a good decision and a decision that he feels is right, then why are you feeling the need to come out and apologise and say that it was the wrong decision? And if it's the wrong decision, then A, admit it's blatant corruption and blatant bias, or B, find the fucking idiot that was on the pitch and demote him exactly like he was years ago. Send him back down to fucking League One because he's obviously clueless and fucking shouldn't be anywhere near the Premier League. The absolute dickhead. Dickhead Stuart Atwell, you're a fucking knobhead. But we've gone through all of that. That was on the player ratings. That was on the instant match reaction. This is the player ratings. I actually, again, I think it was a performance that we can be proud of to some sense. I think the effort, the desire, the fight, the determination, the energy was all there. And yes, look, some people will say, but we haven't, what about the 2 goals you conceded? Was they the referee's fault as well? Listen, we could have, Sadio Mane could have been sent off. We could have got a penalty and scored it. And we still could have lost the game. We still could have conceded 2 towards the end of the game, and we still could have lost. And I'd have sat here and gone, we've lost through a lack of quality and, 2 defensive, lapses of concentration. But at least we got a fair chance at it. But what's so annoying is we've lost that game there through a lack of quality ultimately at the end, and, a couple of defensive lapses of concentration towards the end of the game. But we weren't given a fair chance at it. We weren't given a fair shot at it, because a fair shot would have been Liverpool down to 10 men and Everton would have been given a penalty in that first half. We weren't given a fair opportunity to do it. And considering they needed that 12th man and that bias and corruption when they're one of the best teams in the world and we're little old Everton struggling and battling relegation, says a lot about the absolute laughable state that is the Premier League at the moment. It is WWE. We are witnessing Vince McMahon at his finest here, by the way. At its finest. It makes me laugh the way people go, how could you watch that wrestling? It's so corrupt, it's so fake. You're not watching the Premier League week in, week out. It's exactly the fucking same. At least the WWE are happy to come out and say, yeah, we do script the matches and we do tell the referee who's going to win and how it's going to happen. The Premier League just saying like that they don't, when they blatantly do. Anyway, as I said, performance-wise from Everton, I think you can't really discuss the desire and the effort and the passion. I think one thing that's the most frustrating, I suppose, about the Everton performance is that if these players would have put in that performance in against Burnley, we'd have won that game. Against Wolves at Goodison, we'd have won that game. Against Leicester on Wednesday, we'd have won that game. Against Southampton a couple of weeks back, we'd have won that game. And we wouldn't be in this position now. We'd be far clear of the relegation battle and we'd be okay. And there wouldn't be this worry about the position that we're in. That is the most frustrating thing, I suppose, to take out of today's game, is had these players performed the way they did today against various other teams, we'd have won those games comfortably. And we wouldn't be sitting here, talking about Everton being in such a worrying position. But we are. And as I said, I don't think we can really criticise the desire and the fight today in the same way as that we battled and fought to get back into the game on Wednesday, and we battled and fought against Manchester United. So I do think there's positives to be taken. I do think, I've just noticed that I've labelled this instant match reaction when it's not. I do think that Frank Lampard has to take positives from this game, and I think the players should take positives from this game. I think Vitaly Mykolenko was absolutely exceptional. I think Anthony Gordon was unbelievable again. He made Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is one of the best fullbacks on the planet, he made him look absolutely average today. He made him look dreadful. And people can sit there all they like and say, oh, that's because Trent allowed him to. He didn't have a good game. He didn't. Anthony Gordon ran rings around him. And that, if anything, just shows the level of Anthony Gordon. He's an absolutely fantastic young lad. Not only his desire, his work rate and his determination. Yes, he's got things to improve on. Of course he has. His final product being one of those. But again, today he showed his level. He's absolutely phenomenal, Anthony Gordon. And if we had a team full of players like Anthony Gordon, we would not be in the position that we're in at the moment. But overall, I think it was a good performance. The game plan, I think, worked to an extent until, that we conceded the first goal. A big Rob, I don't know, we had one shot on target. What's your point? What is your point? What's the point you're trying to make? You're making no point. Do you come from this selection of football fans who don't have a fucking clue about football? You're not making any point. And yeah, as I said, we lost the game, which is disappointing. The manner in which we lost it is extremely disappointing because we didn't have a fair chance to win it. But we lost against an extremely good footballing team in a manner that, again, we all were worried we wouldn't see. I think a lot of Evertonians were worried going into this one that we'd see a performance of players that were not arsed or not interested or give up or absolutely shit themselves at the occasion, and these players didn't. They battled, they worked hard, they fought, and ultimately they, other than a bit of a lack of quality and some defensive lapses of concentration, I think it was a decent performance today against, as I said, an extremely good team. And now we've got Chelsea, which will be tough, but a game that we not only must win, but I think we can win. I really, really do think we can win. And Sunday is massively important now. But anyway, less of the rambling about the game. I've just done that for an hour on the instant match reaction, or half an hour, whatever it was. Let's go into the player ratings. We're going to rate every player from 1 to 10, obviously 1 being utterly abysmal, 10 being absolutely perfect. And yeah, we'll go through them all. If you're a Liverpool fan watching, I don't know why you're watching, because I'm only going to rate Everton players, but fair enough, stay around, hit the like button, leave a subscription. There's loads of yous that have disliked the instant match reaction. I don't know what you get out of dislike. If you're that good and you love yourselves that much and you're winning everything, what could possibly give you more satisfaction disliking an Everton fan channel's YouTube video? Strange bunch. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Jordan Pickford in goal. I'm going to give Jordan a 7 today. I've watched the goals back. I don't necessarily think he's at fault for either of them. I think both goals are just defensive mishaps of concentration. Again, Andy Robertson's completely left on his own. Not Jordan Pickford's doing, and same with Divock Origi in the last 5 minutes. I think his overall play today was great. He wound them up. He worked hard. He done everything he needed to do. He wasn't called into action an awful lot, but when he was, he dealt with the things that he needed to deal with. He time wasted, if that's what you want, if that's what Liverpool fans want to hear. Of course he time wasted, because we're in a relegation battle coming up against the team that are fighting for the for the title away from home. There's not one goalkeeper in the league who wouldn't time waste. He dealt with the pressure of the Liverpool fans that were on his back, and yeah, I don't think he put a foot wrong really today, Jordan Pickford. I'm not going to sit here and give him a massively overly exaggerated score, because he wasn't called into action an awful lot. Wasn't like the performance against Liverpool last year where he had to make 4 or 5 world class saves. He did make a good save from a Thiago effort, but he done what he needed to do, and he done it to a good level. And as I said, he was solid today. It was nothing you wouldn't expect from Jordan. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, and he showed that again today. So Jordan is getting a 7. Vitaly Mykolenko left back. Vitaly Mykolenko, I'm actually going to give a 9. To be honest with you, I think he was brilliant. I think he was absolutely brilliant. Again, that might be a high score for a player in a Merseyside derby who's ultimately been on the losing team, but in the first half, he was tasked with dealing with, a front three, well, all game really, a front three of Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Jota. Mainly it was Sadio Mane, I think, who were in, but they were all sort of interjecting with each other, and every time, we come up against Mo Salah a couple of times, he come up against Mane, he dealt with every single occasion perfectly. Vitaly Mykolenko, he put his foot out when he needed to, he won the ball back, his strength was there, he put his body on the line, he was getting forward, his passing was good, he made a couple of good blocks. I just think he was fantastic, and again, the score might be a little over exaggerated, but I think that's Vitaly Mykolenko's 3rd game on the bounce now where he has not put a foot wrong, and for me, Anthony Gordon probably tips man of the match, because I think his urgency, his desire, his commitment, he should have won a penalty, he should have had sent Alexander-Arnold sent off as well. He had sent Alexander-Arnold on toast all game. probably just tips the man of the match, but I think Vitaly Mykolenko was an absolute close second. He was fantastic today. His work rate, his desire, his commitment, but also defensively, this lad is just getting better and better, isn't it? And we're seeing it in front of our eyes every single week. And for his first Merseyside derby at Anfield, for what that entails and the situation that Everton are in and the position Liverpool are in, it was a good performance. So there you go. Michael Keane then obviously stepped in for Ben Godfrey in the warm-up, as Ben Godfrey picked up an injury in the warm-up, which is just typical Everton. I'm gonna give Michael Keane difficult. I'm gonna give him a 6 today. Now, listen, the two centre-halves ultimately for an hour done exactly what they needed to do. Now, they weren't actually called into action an awful lot because the full-backs in the midfield done a lot of the blocking and the defending, and it never really got to the centre-halves to have to deal with situations. But from corners, they dealt with things well. I think Richarlison dealt with a couple of corners really well as well. But ultimately, both goals have come from two lapses of misconcentration from the back line. I actually think the first is more Damari Gray, who isn't marking his man. The second is you know, at the end of the day, you know, Divock Origi stood effectively on the line and he's absolutely free. So that is the concern of the centre half for me. And it's a shame really, because in a game that, as I said, we blatantly had 12 men against us. You know, we were defending so well and we were dealing with Liverpool so well. And we conceded 2 goals that could have been avoided. Could have been and should have been avoided, really. And that's the frustrating thing. We didn't concede a worldie from 30 yards out. We didn't concede the goal that you look at and you go, oh, that just shows their quality. We conceded 2 goals that were lapses of defensive concentration. And we said in the preview on Friday, and I've said numerous times before, against teams like Liverpool, you cannot afford to have lapses of concentration because they will make you pay. And that's exactly what we did today. We had two situations in which the defence switched off for a split second and we conceded 2 goals due to that. You know, ultimately for an hour we were defensively pitch perfect. I don't care if we had 1% possession and I couldn't give a fuck. We were perfect. The game plan was perfect for an hour. It's not the perfect game plan for every game. That has to be said. I'm not going to sit here and say do that against Brentford. And when I say if we played like that against teams, I'm not saying that the game plan should be like that against every side. What I'm saying is that the desire, the effort, the determination, the work rate should be like that. You know, in every game. But as I said, for me, the game plan today was perfect from Frank Lampard, and defensively we were very, very good up until conceding the first goal. So I'm going to give him a 6. Mason Holgate, I'll give him a I don't know, a 5. I think he's probably more at fault for the goal. And again, same really with the comments about Michael Keane. Defended really, really well, held himself well. Didn't get a booking, which is surprising in a game like that for Mason Holgate. But ultimately, you know, the 2 lapses of concentration is what has cost us today, and you can't afford to be having them in Merseyside derbies. You simply can't. So Mason can get a 5. As I said, Michael Keane gets a 6, and then Seamus Coleman, I'm going to give Seamus a 7. Again, considering he was dealing with 3 of the best attacking players on the planet, including same with Vitaly Mykolenko, I thought he dealt with them relatively well. Thought he stopped a couple of crosses coming in. I thought he composed himself. I thought he maintained himself. I thought he was in the face of Liverpool players whenever they were in the face of our players, which was good to see, and not often do you see that from Seamus. And yeah, I thought he done okay. He worked. Put it this way: if the game would have ended in a draw, I'd have been sitting here saying he was faultless, and I don't necessarily think either of the goals were his fault. As I said, the first one does come from that side, but I think it's more Damari Gray who just completely lets his man wander. So yeah, there you go. Into the midfield then, Alan I'm going to give Alan a 6. Yeah, I think in the first, as I said, judging everybody by that first hour, because the first hour everybody give everything they could, and in their own right was very good. Alan was breaking everything up. He was battling. He was showing that desire. He was showing that commitment. He was winning the ball back. He was in the face of Liverpool players. He was up for the scrap. He was up for the fight. In fact, I give Alan a 7 for that, because he wasn't afraid to get into that confrontation. Again, he should have had Sadio Mane sent off for raising his arm to him, but he didn't, because he played he played in a Liverpool shirt. His passing wasn't great, to be honest. His passing wasn't great. It was poor, but I think his break-up play was good. I thought he battled himself. I thought, yes, in that final third, again, having said that, his passing was poor. Maybe, no, a 7's too much. 3 completed passes. Or you know what? I'm gonna give him a 6. I know we only had a couple of completed passes, but in that game, no Everton player will have had a ridiculous amount of completed passes, because ultimately it wasn't that type of game. Especially Alan's job there was to break the play up, and I actually think he done it a couple of times really, really well. Sticking his foot out, winning the ball back, getting in the face of Liverpool players. Again, his passing wasn't great. Nobody's passing was great, but he was there. He was up for it, and his break-up play I thought was good. So yeah, there you go. Decore then, I'll give him a 6.5. I think it was his best game in an Everton shirt in a while. He should have taken that chance. He simply should have taken that chance in the first half. He dragged it wide. Again, difficult, because it's difficult when you're talking about games like this and rating players from games like this, because we never have much of the ball, and we've got 11 players on the pitch there, and the average will tell you that a couple of them will have not really touched the ball an awful lot, but it still doesn't mean they had necessarily a bad game. And I think Decore, again, was getting himself involved, was winning balls, was battling, got forward. I don't know what, talking like what, I'm going to lose subscribers, talking like what, Michael, what have I said that's out of line? And yeah, again, I thought it was his best game in a while. Still not quite back to that level that we need him to be at, but I still think it was his best game in a while, Decore, so yeah. And then Alex Iwobi, I'm going to give Alex Iwobi I'm going to give him a 6. I think he worked hard. I think he ran round. Don't think he was as creative as maybe he has been, although that's difficult in a game like this. His passing was better than others. But yeah, he wasn't massively in the game in the sense. Defensively, he worked hard. He done well. He got back. He battled, which is what we want to see. And again, a difficult game for him because of the circumstances, the situation, the style, the setup, the tactics. Very, very difficult game for him. But I had no real problem with him today. I thought he worked hard. Thought he battled. And when he had the ball, I don't think he was particularly poor on it. So, yeah, there you go. On to the front three then. Demarai Gray is getting a 5 for me. Lively in the first half, was getting at Liverpool, was taking players on, was using his skills, I think he got caught on the ball a couple of times when he shouldn't have been. And in the second half, he just completely faded out the game. He was ultimately taken off for Rondon in the end. And he just faded out the game, didn't he? Which was disappointing to see, really, because you expect more from Demarai Gray. He's got the quality. He had that one shot which whistled past the post, which you could maybe say is unlucky, but given his quality and given the ability he's got, you want to be seeing more. You want to be seeing more output from him. He should have put in a similar performance to Anthony Gordon, and I just don't think he did. As I said, good first half, but definitely tailed off in the second half. Anthony Gordon's getting a 9.5 today. Deserved to be on the winning team, in my opinion. Yes, he dived in the first half. If you Liverpool fans, I've seen Liverpool fans saying, you cheated yourself, he dived. Well, he dived and he got booked for diving, which was the right decision. He then got fouled and nothing was given. So that's the wrong decision. So we never cheated. He dived, as Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah do, 73,000 times every game. So shut up with that nonsense, because that's a load of nonsense. As I said, his desire today was exceptional. His work rate, his passion, his energy, his battle, his grit. But overall today, I think Anthony Gordon showed us just how good of a footballer he is. He made Trent Alexander-Arnold, who, whether you like him or not, is one of the best fullbacks on the planet. He made him look utterly shite. Not even average, not even he struggled. He made him look fucking awful today. He had him every single time. Every single time he come up against him, he beat him for pace, he beat him for skill. As I said, he should have had him sent off in the first half for a blatant push when he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but also a penalty should have been given again. But that was Matip. That was that through the penalty. But he beat Alexander-Arnold to get to Joel Matip in the first place. And yeah, I thought he was brilliant today. Not only, there's been a lot of criticism recently of Anthony Gordon. He works his socks off, this, that, and the other. But is he good enough? And I've said myself, I think his final ball needs to improve. His crossing, his shooting, I think it all needs to improve. But today, he showed his dribbling, his pace, his skill, his footballing brain is extremely good, even at such a young age. And he showed that today. He was absolutely phenomenal, and as I said, he deserved a lot more out of that game. Anthony Gordon, he was very, very near perfect. He was brilliant today. And then Richarlison, I'm going to give Richie. I'm going to give him a 6.5 as well. I think his desire was there. I think his work rate was there. I think it was a difficult game for him, Richarlison, given the tactic and given the overall sort of way in which we played. Because he was never going to have a plethora of opportunities. He was never going to be, one-on-one with the goalkeeper 100 times. He was never going to get many chances. He had a couple of half chances here and there. But he worked, he battled, he showed us determination. I think he broke the play up really well in the first half. He's done well at throwing himself on the floor. I've got no problem with that. No problem with it. Done well with throwing himself on the floor. And breaking the game up and frustrating Liverpool. Second half, he wasn't really in the game because of ultimately the situation that we were in. Should he have been sent off? Look, if people want to hear it, I've seen them given. I actually think his leg is already on. His studs are already on Jordan Henderson's leg. When he moves his leg, he extends his leg. How else is he going to get up without extending his leg? But I've seen them given. So had he have been sent off? Well, had he have been sent off after some of the decisions Atwell didn't give for us, I'd have probably flew through me telly and straight at the referee. But had it have been a fair game, I wouldn't have complained about him being sent off. But it wasn't a fair game because we could have been 1-0 up and they could have been down to 10 men from the first half. And that happened, with a minute to go, 30 seconds to go, something like that. So, again, I'll give him a 5. Difficult game for him. Worked hard, showed that desire, showed that commitment. But ultimately in the second half, he'd faded out the game, which was disappointing. But yeah, again, I don't really. His effort was there, his desire, his passion, his commitment. No, he's getting a 6. Fuck it, he's getting a 6. Substitutes then, Dele Alli. Dele can get a 6.5. I think he come on. He had that opportunity where he cut the ball across, and Andy Robertson made a good tackle. He proved a threat. Got himself a yellow card himself. Got involved with the physicality of the game. That's pretty much all he did. And then Solomon Rondon, he can get a 5. I don't think he really done much. Don't really blame him for that, to be honest. But he come on at a point where obviously the game had started to dwindle away from us. I think had Solomon Rondon had been on in the first half, he'd have had a much better performance than what he did ultimately when he come on. Had a really, really difficult time. And then Frank, for me, again, and game plan was spot on for the first hour. Should he have made that third substitute? Absolutely, for me. Absolutely got to make that third substitute. It's a must-win game. As soon as we go 1-0 down, I'm throwing everything at it. El Ghazi, come on, or Isaac Price, just something a bit different. And yeah, I do think the changes were a little bit late. I do. I think as soon as we went 1-0 down, that's when you've got to make the change. Because in a game like that, the way in which we were playing, the tactic, the style, if you go 1-0 down, you've got to change it instantly. And he didn't, he waited. But yeah, there you go. Big game on Sunday now. Absolute must win on Sunday for me. Can we win it? We can. Chelsea haven't been in particularly great form today, although they won with a last-minute goal today, I think. And we've got to win on Sunday. Nobody knows Chelsea more than Frank Lampard. Yeah, we've got to win this game. So there you go. There you go. They are the player ratings. Let us know your thoughts on them in the comments section down below. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to check out the instant match reaction if you haven't already as well. I'm going to go and have me tea and forget about football for another night because, yeah, I'm just sickened that how these referees get away with this every week and don't even get interviewed or don't even get asked to explain their decisions. They just get away with it, and he'll get another game next week or the weekend as well. Fucking idiot. Anyway, leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.